So let's talk about what we just witnessed with the Firefly Inferno match at WWE TLC, because it was a big shocking moment that will likely have a big effect on several things. Before we get into the Fiend vs Randy Orton Inferno match, make sure to subscribe with all notifications on if you're new, and help us out by clicking that subscribe button below. So let's get into this Inferno match, because this was quite insane and it's about to change a lot of things up for Bray Wyatt. The Inferno match was so important that it closed out WWE TLC and was the main event. The Inferno match was reportedly pre-taped Sunday afternoon and was not live at all. WWE recorded the match early, and it was rumored that the original plan wasn't for the match to be the main event, but WWE decided to have it close the show. Many fans were expecting a cinematic match here, and even though it technically wasn't a cinematic match, it still included some aspects of a cinematic match, especially with the certain camera angles. The match seemed like it was live, but there was a few moments that really gave it away that it was pre-recorded. When the Fiend lit the chair on fire, you can notice a few camera cuts during that moment. When the Fiend gets lit on fire for the first time, you can also notice a few camera cuts. And lastly, when Randy Orton lit the Fiend on fire in the closing moments, it seemed like the camera cut as well. But that's enough talk about everything that was going on behind the scenes. Let's stop ruining the immersion and dive back into this match and look at it from a storyline perspective. Bray Wyatt gave a brilliant recap during the video package before the match and perfectly went over his entire story with Randy Orton. From their days together as a tag team champion in 2017 to Orton burning down his house, all the way to current day with the Fiend. Bray Wyatt perfectly set up the story for us before the match. We finally get to the match, and the design of the Inferno match is quite different. The fire is no longer across the ring apron. It's towards the barricade, so it gives the superstars more room to work with. Randy Orton had a few close calls of almost getting lit on fire, but he was able to get away every single time. The Fiend is about to push Orton onto the fire before Orton switches it around and pushes the Fiend back into the fire. The Fiend catches on fire and runs into the ring before being laid out in the ring. Technically, this was the end of the match. The rules clearly state that you win by lighting your opponent on fire. So Randy Orton won the Inferno match right there, but the bell never rung and his music never played. Everyone was asking about the bell, but it's safe to assume that WWE didn't call for the bell or Orton's music because they didn't want to take us out of the moment, especially with what's coming next. Orton kicks the motionless body of the Fiend, but realizes that it's not enough, and just like the house, he wants to make sure this issue is gone forever. Orton grabs the gas container and proceeds to fully light the Fiend on fire before posing on the ramp. The Fiend remains in flames as the show comes to an end. So that was quite the unexpected moment here for this match. The Fiend was the favorite to win this match, but obviously this will go down in the history books as his second loss. Now, you may think to yourself that this was another horrible move, and how could they make the Fiend lose again and go out like this? But think about it for a second. Him losing this match and going out like this opens up a lot of possibilities and exciting ideas, rather than him just simply defeating Randy Orton. The one question on everyone's mind is, what does this mean for the Fiend? Is he over with? Was this an official end to the persona? Bray Wyatt even took to Twitter and tweeted, "Thank you," with a red circle. Bray was talking about earlier in the week how everything comes full circle, so that's what he was referring to. But I don't think this is an end to the Fiend. Obviously, from a marketing and business point of view, the Fiend is your most popular character. You're not going to write him off like that and fully get rid of the character. If this was any other character that got lit on fire, then I would assume they were done. But the fact that it's the Fiend lets us know that this is basically the beginning of the story. He's far from done. What if the Fiend comes back stronger than ever? What if Orton accidentally created more of a monster? We know the Fiend had a big loss against Goldberg and now this loss. So what if he comes back reinvented again? Maybe a new look, a slightly burnt face, and he's stronger than before. It'll be a great way to wipe the Fiend's slate clean of that Goldberg loss and this Orton loss and give him another fresh start, freshen him up a bit. What I would like to see with this story is for them to play out what seems to be the end for the Fiend. Have Bray Wyatt truly be sad and angry with Randy Orton, putting an end to The Fiend. Let the story ride out for a bit like that. I don't want to see The Fiend return next week or something like that. After what we just saw, The Fiend should go on the sidelines for a decent while. Build up that suspense as if he's really gone. Just like a superhero movie, when it appears that they're gone, but then they come back a few movies later. Something like that. Let us see what life without The Fiend is like for Bray Wyatt for a little while. How will he act and behave now that he no longer has protection from The Fiend? How will The Fiend's absence affect Bray Wyatt? And what will his mood be like? That'll be very important to keep an eye on. Will he congratulate Randy Orton for getting rid of The Fiend, or will Wyatt let him know that this isn't the end? But I just think they need to keep it going for a while, keep him missing. But when it's time for a return, The Fiend's gonna need one huge return like we've never seen before. Maybe a cinematic return of getting up and walking out of a swamp, or something with the burnt marks all over his body. Like we mentioned before, maybe a slightly altered mask that's burnt as well, so we can visually see all that punishment from the match. That's exactly what I see happening, and that's the type of character that The Fiend is. Just an old school horror movie monster that no matter what you do to him, he's gonna keep getting up. So even though the fire might have stunned him, it definitely didn't take him out for good. He's gonna come back and will be stronger than ever. I want to see him come back, but I don't want it to feel so rushed. So what will Bray Wyatt do until then? Well, Alexa Bliss will be with him once she comes back from her break, and we know how obsessed she was with The Fiend as well, so how would she react? Will she be sad or absolutely livid? Maybe Alexa goes on her own little revenge tour, and that's what leads us to see Alexa's version of The Fiend. Maybe Bray Wyatt is able to convert all the powers over to Alexa Bliss, and she carries The Fiend's legacy until he's back. Maybe Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt will find a way to revive The Fiend and get him back themselves. Something like that for down the line would be fine. We already saw The Fiend emerge from fire on Raw when Randy Orton lit the box up, so it shouldn't be an issue for him at all. I know watching The Fiend burn on fire to close out the show may be hard for Bray Wyatt fans, but I like the decision because of all the possibilities and options it opens up. The Fiend getting lit on fire, and now all this speculation and discussion about what happens next to The Fiend is way more fun than The Fiend just simply winning the match and lighting Orton on fire. If The Fiend wins that match against Orton, then it's basically the end of that story. The Fiend got his revenge. But the fact that Randy Orton beat Bray Wyatt again, and the fact that The Fiend didn't get his revenge, means that The Fiend will have an even stronger desire to get back at Randy Orton. Things are about to get very interesting, but what did you think of the Inferno match? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.